Now we turn to the Gospel, the Passion, according to Luke. I'd like to, before we go into the Passion, because it is so long and I can only hit a few elements, the critical thing about Jesus and the death and the suffering is that he spent his whole ministry up in Galilee in relative safety from those who were plotting to destroy him. But there came a point in his life when he said, I must go to Jerusalem. And if you remember, Peter and the other apostles said, no, you're not going, it's too dangerous. And so Jesus said, get behind me, you Peter, you Satan, you are dissuading me from what I have to do. And so Jesus went up to Jerusalem, because Jerusalem is up on a mountain. And it is this gesture of going to Jerusalem that is so important for Jesus and for us, because it was going to Jerusalem that Jesus had his hour, the moment of his passage from death to life. And we can apply that to our own selves, because we're often called to go to Jerusalem, even though we don't want to go, but we know we have to go to Jerusalem if we are going to fulfill our life. And our Jerusalem can be any number of things, but it's that symbol, which is very important to me personally in my spiritual life, the symbol of going to Jerusalem, even though you know what waits you, is critical for any human life, because we have to go and confront those things that are obstacles to our life and to our growth as a human being. I'd like to recommend that theme to you in your own personal spirituality, that we can hang back in Galilee, quote, going back to Jesus, or we can listen to the call and we can go to Jerusalem and have our hour, that our moment of truth or our moment of crisis that leads us to freedom. And that's basically, that theme is critical for us. Our gospel is by Luke, and it's kind of graphic at times. What we have to remember, as your literature points out, that through it all, Jesus never lost a hope. Yes, he prayed on the cross, my Lord, why have you abandoned me? But that really is a psalm. So he was really praying on the cross by reciting the Psalms that he, as a good Jew, was very familiar with. So it's not as if Jesus was saying, you have abandoned me. He's reciting a prayer. And it is in that prayer that expresses the anguish of one who feels abandoned. And there's no question that in the emotional life of Jesus, there was a sense of abandonment, but he never lost hope that God would raise him from the dead and establish him as the Lord. Even on the cross, the two things that come out at us is the forgiveness. If we were in a similar situation, we'd be ranting and raving at those who did this to us. But Jesus, still the loving person, even in this critical moment of his life, basically said, forgive them, they do not know what they are doing. And that passage alone is so important for us as followers of Jesus, because there are times, maybe many times, when we are misunderstood. And rather than lashing out, we could use forgiveness as a way of bringing healing. And then, of course, that famous passage when he turns to one of the thieves on being crucified with him. One of them kind of speaks disparagingly of Jesus, and the other defends Jesus. And this famous statement, this day you will be with me in paradise. Again, even on the cross, where some are mocking him, he still maintains his basic dignity, and in addition to, I'm sure, forgiving the other one, tells the other one, you are now going to be in paradise with me. So the sense of being with others, even in his critical moment, is important to us. So these are the critical things. There's an awful lot. You could probably have 2 or 3 sessions based on this material. The important thing is, referring to our theme of disciples in mission, can we go to Jerusalem with Jesus, or are we going to hang back in Galilee in relative security? Are we, in the midst of our sufferings, going to be the faithful servant giving witness to the presence of God, even in life's most difficult situations? Are we going to have a forgiving heart, even in the midst of tragedy? Are we going to be faithful even unto death as Jesus was? Because that was the theme of Paul's theme, or the song. He was faithful even unto death. For this reason, God lifted him up and made him the Lord. So the death and resurrection is a pattern of our own lives. You know, in a sense, every day should be a dying to sin, to self, to those things that are destructive, and a rising to newness of life. So we are people of the resurrection. We are people who want to follow Jesus in his life and death and in his resurrection. I pray for all of you and hope that your Easter celebration will be a deepening of your faith in the death and resurrection of Christ as the critical event in human history, and of course the critical event for our own personal lives and for the life of Prince of Peace Catholic community. Have a happy Easter.